Assalamu alaikum readers. This is Nighat Raza reading to you the book Fatima is Fatima by Dr. Ali Shariyati. Chapter 2 begins with the words for the reader. Says, to my beloved daughter Mani and Iran, may they grow in the light of Fatima. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. To the spirit of my mother Zahra, the mirror of humility, emotions, and chastity, for whom life was only sorrow, while her existence, for me, was all kindness. The words you are about to hear are from a lecture I gave at the Kashana-e-Baseerat. To begin with, I had wanted to comment upon the research of Professor Louis Massignon about the personality and the complicated life of Fatima (as-Salam). I had wished to refer to the deep and revolutionary influence her memory evokes in Muslim societies and the role she played in the breadth of Islam transformation. These words were in particular for the university students participating in my various classes. History and knowledge of religions, the sociology of religions, and Islamology. The writer, Dr. Ali Shariyati says, and I begin reading, as I entered the gathering, I saw, in addition to the university students, many others had come. This spoke of the need for a more urgent response to the problem. I agreed to answer the pertinent question of womanhood, which is extremely important today for our society. Women who have remained in the traditional mold do not face the problem of identity, and women who have accepted the new imported mold have also solved the problems for themselves. But in the midst of these two types of molded women, there are those who can neither accept their hereditary tradition form nor surrender to the imposed new form. What should they do? They want to decide for themselves. They want to develop themselves. They need a model, an ideal example, a heroine. For them, the problem of who I am, how do I become, is urgent. Fatima, through her own being, answers the questions. I would have been satisfied with giving an analytical description of the personality of Fatima. I found that bookshops had no books about her, and thus our intellectuals know nothing about her life. I was obliged to compensate for this lack to a certain extent. Thus, this present essay is the same lecture but expanded to include a biography based upon documented traditional sources about this beloved person who has remained unknown or misinterpreted. In this biography, I particularly drew from historical documents. Whenever I reached the problem of faith and explicitly Shiite views, I chose Sunni sources, since Shiism grew out of the origins of Sunnism, and from the scholar's point of view, they are irrefutable. I cannot say that this lecture is without need of criticism. Rather, the reverse is true. It is in great need, waiting for those with pure hearts, those who enjoy to guide, those who are willing to serve, rather than those who show hostility, abuse, and make use of slander. Ali Shariyati, June 1971. And with this we go to page 15 and begin with chapter 3. The introduction says, "On this sacred night I was not planned that such an unsacred person as myself speak. I have gained much from my contact with the work of Professor Louis Massignon. He is a great person and well-known Islamic scholar who has written about Fatima S.A.W. I was greatly influenced by her blessed life, as well as her effects upon the history of Islam. Even after her death, she kept alive the spirit of those who seek justice and oppose oppression and discrimination in Islamic society. She has a manifestation and a symbol of the way and essential direction of Islamic thought. As a student, I played a small role in the preparation of this great work, especially at the beginning of the research and gathering stage. The documents and information which existed has been recorded over a period of 1400 years. They were written in all languages and local Islamic dialects. The historic implication in the various documents and even the local odes and folk songs were studied. I was asked to summarize this work here. I said to myself, I will offer this work here today because it has yet to be published, and the great man who began it has left this world, having left his work uncompleted. People unfortunately do not know about this work. Even Europeans who are familiar with Islam do not know about this study. This has also affected our own scholars who are familiar with Islam through the writings of Europeans and therefore remain uninformed of this work. I accepted this invitation. I said to myself, I will describe the manuscripts to my students in particular those who participate in my classes at the Kashana-e-Baseerat. I will give them the scientific and historic results of the deep research of this great man. But now I see and sense that the phase of the gathering differs. It is not a group gathered for a sermon or a discourse. The women and men who are now here are all intellectuals and educated representatives of the needy of today's generation of the society. They have not come to hear me speak of Fatima in order to gain spiritual reward from this gathering tonight. They have not come to hear a dry scientific historic lecture, as they have a newer, more urgent, more alive need, which is to answer this most sensitive question for those who are affected by our contemporary fate. Who am I? Dear readers, with this we come to the end of page 16 and go over to page 17 with chapter 4. The title of this chapter is, Who Am I? In this society, women change rapidly. The tyranny of our times and the influence of institutions take from her what she is. After all traditional characteristics and values are taken away from her until they make her into a creature they want, they build, and we see that they have built. This is why the most important and relevant question of the awakened woman at this time is, who am I? Knowing full well that she cannot remain what she is. Actually, she does not want to accept modern masks to replace the traditional ones. She wants to decide for herself. Her contemporaries choose for themselves. They consciously decorate their personalities with awareness and independence. They thoroughly ornament themselves. They manifest a design. They reflect a sketch, but they do not know how. They do not know the design of the real human need of their personality, which is neither a reflection of their heritage nor their artificially imposed imitative masks. Which of these do they identify with? The second question which arises from amidst these stems from the following reasoning. We are Muslims, women of a society who wish to make decisions through reason and choice and relate them to a history, culture, religion, and society which received its spirits and origins from Islam. A woman who is in this society wants to be herself. She wants to build herself. She wants to be reborn. In this rebirth, she wants to be her own midwife. She neither wants to be a product of her heritage nor have a superficial facade. She cannot remain heedless of Islam and she cannot remain indifferent to it. Thus, it is natural that this question should arise from the Muslim woman. Our people continue to speak about Fatima. Every year, hundreds of thousands of Muslims cry for her. There are hundreds of thousands of gatherings, prayer meetings, festivals, and mourning ceremonies in her memory. There are ceremonies of praise, joy, honor, and majesty for her, where her generosity is expressed through unusual customs. They hold rituals of lamentation where they recreate her sorrows and speak ill of the damned those who offended her. In spite of all this, her real personality is not known. The only things, unfortunately, that our people know of this great sacred person are these few items as follows. Fatima was the beloved daughter of the Prophet and detested by Aisha for the wife of the Prophet after Khadija's death and the daughter of Abu Bakr, the first of the orthodox caliphs. After the death of the Prophet, Abu Bakr took her grazing hand in Fada. Umar attacked her home with a group of his men. They struck her in her side and she, 6 months pregnant, aborted her son Mohsin. From then on, her days passed with the taking of her children's hands and walking outside the city to a place called House of Sorrows. There she would sit and cry. She would speak ill of the usurpers of Ali's fights. She would cry and lament for hours. She spent her short life crying and cursing her fate until she died. She requested in her will that she be buried at night so that those who thought ill of her would not follow her funeral and they would not know where she was buried. This is the extent of the information about this great person that exists in the memories of our people. Yet, in spite of the little they know about her, people accept her majesty and power with their whole hearts. They offer their hearts with all the spiritual strength, faith, and will that a people could have or a human community could build. Be authentic and seek out the truth. The greatest honor, in my opinion, which has been bestowed upon our Iranian society is bestowed with it chooses Imam Ali. In spite of the sorrow, depression, and the difficulties which it suffers because of this choice, our people show us discernment and deep thought. They show us how to oppose oppression and deceit. They open the fists of powerful men, treacherous, dominating people who take away the rights of human beings. They rebel against force and oppression. They come to know deceit. lies, and traitors. They oppose oppressive regimes. They do not allow themselves to become attached to or influenced by advertisements and religious leaders who had attached themselves to the institutions of the caliphate. They discover unknown truths. They seek out the strange, the weak, hidden behind useless curtains. They find strong currents. They are the cause of this society withstanding all it does. They choose Ali alayhi salam. It is true that our people came to Islam through the various caliphates, but we must recognize their insurrection against both of the caliphs and their institutions, including those of the Umayyads, Abbasids, and Khans, Turkish, Khaganis, Tazis, and Mongols. We must distinguish between the people and the Iranians who are attached to their institutions under the name of Islam, Quranic government, prophetic tradition, the front of truth and the truth of religion. All the expressions of the beliefs and the new founded wisdom of Islam came from the caliph's institutions. Their words from the pulpits and minarets, their books and commentaries upon the tradition, their orations, advertisements, philosophies, men of letters, poets, historians, warriors, and even companions and associates of the companions of the Prophet. Every single one of these groups were extension of the Caliph or Sultan's institutions. Loudspeakers, transistor radios, films, television, magazines, newspapers, advertisers, and theoreticians and extensions of the ruler's class. Those in power who form the times and who are the relatives of the official leaders, relatives of the Prophet, and the Imams who are legally appointed in the name of divine rule and traditions are all extensions of the Caliph or Sultan. These amazing people of ours, under the bombardment of publicity, without having any sort of security behind the thick black clouds of the accepted sciences, architects, theology, government, religion, culture, history, interpretations, jurisprudence, and traditions which incidentally happen to coincide with the ruling caliphate and confirm the governing institutions without even knowing the official language of Islam. Cleverly enough know, however, that these are all lies. They know that the truth is not attached to these eye-catching forms. Rather, the truth belongs to a man who is alone, who has his home in a corner near the Prophet's mosque, and who is surrounded by the ignorance of the tribe. He lives amidst the great political sacrifices of the friends of the Prophet and the great thinkers of Islam. Beyond the green palace of Damascus and the hanging noose of the fairy tale caliph of 1001 Nights of Baghdad, Iranians find the abandoned mud-built house of Ali and Fatima and discern that Islam is in this sorrowful, abandoned, silent abode. The Iranian people who enter and become acquainted with Islam through the sword of the Caliph see this truth and know it to be the truth even in the midst of invitation from the religious leaders belonging to the official Islamic Caliphate, whereas the people of Medina and the contemporary Arabs and the companions of the Prophet do not see or do not want to see it. The great schools and universities of Damascus and Baghdad are also ignorant to this truth. This is the most difficult and wonderful choice on part of our people. It manifests the birth of a thought and an awareness which is contrary to any customs they had had. It reflects the greatness and firmness of their spirit. It shows their worship of the truth. It reveals the spiritual courage of these people who rebel against the history and the worldly government of the Caliphate. The Caliphate moved than any other previous historical political system governs their institutions. It is always the Caliphate which possesses the powerful military and political forces. It holds the strings to the huge religious capital of thoughts and the unlimited wealth of culture, literature, and endowed knowledge. Our people negate the Caliphate in the middle of all the confusions of war and jihad, inner and outer spiritual struggle. They never lose their fervours in spite of the disputes which arise from conquests, the defeats they suffer, the destruction which takes place, the constant building and the clamor, knowledge and thought, culture and civilization, revolution and distractions, full of cries of religion and the world. They deafen the ear of history and cause the earth to tremble under their feet. These strangers, far away and unknown, hear and know the cries of a lonely man, a man who is a stranger in his own town. Ali. Ali speaks to himself, far from the eyes of the town and the ears of the people of the town, in the depths of the night, in the date palm gardens of Bani Najjar, outside of Medina. He tells himself of the pain he feels seeing the destruction of all which he had helped to make. He is afraid when he resembles the lies, luxury of plunder. He knows the force and the deceit which has been imprinted upon the familiar faces of the disgraced and condemned caliphs and Caesars. They are talking of building a new society covering over religion. For centuries more, God's creatures will continue to remain deluded. What dirt must be eaten? What efforts must be made so that the truth be known once again? Truth has been hidden behind those pseudo-sacred new clothes and newly created beauties. You see that the first sacrifice of this bleeding and weakening of the weak by the strong Islam are the people and the fate of the people. The symbol of both these in the sacrifice of he himself and before him, his wife, with tomorrow's generations of Islam, his family, and generation after generation, his children. Without a doubt, this discernment by our people is the most difficult, dreadful, and frightening model in our history. It has not been easy for us to grasp. All these generations of heroes show intelligence, alertness, persistence of character, personal courage, and love of virtues. They indicate how to become familiar with and understand the beauty of mankind and the greatness and majesty of the spirit. They come to know the best values. They learn to descend into the depths and rise upon waves. They continue to seek the truth amidst the thunderstorms of oppression and terror. All of these generations of angelic heroes live and move against the judgment of history. They themselves create another law. They respond to all the minarets, pulpits, and mihrabs. Facing all the great companions, theologians, judges, and traditional religious saints, they rebel against the cries of the souls for blood in order to break their strength. In both the East and the West, day and night, all 100% say yes, say not. When indulgence and thought are added to their faith, they become addicted to blood. They seek after sacrifice and the victory of truth. They acquire a sense of abundant generosity and courage. They have to suffer sorrow, and they have to have the ability to survive punishment. Whippings, insults, and the pain and terror of imprisonment, wretchedness and loneliness. They require a special kind of sincerity. They need a keen sense of vision to bear treachery, the force of power, and the fanaticism, and yet remain patient. They sacrifice self-worship and fanaticism and games people play with the caliphate and the desire to have both God and His fruit. They put aside fear, pious fraud, which is dissimulation, pretentious sacredness, and ostentatious open-mindedness, and many other things. These are a few of the principal elements of Shiite experiences. Alawiyat Shiism, not Safavid Shiism, that is, not the Shiism of Safavids Shah Abbas, not the Shiism which trembles in history when oppressed by the force of oppression, not which supports oppression and force, but the religion of justice and innocent government. We are not referring to the Shiism which supported the repressed historic collection of ideas or the tribal hatred or verbal love and grudges full of suggestions, not intelligent and practical. Safavid Shiism refers only to the caliph and not to the caliphate. It pertains to the past and not the present. It relates to that which is beneficial after death and not before death. It is the purpose of the sanctity of the Alawis to free the Shiites from injustice, governments of force, and ignorant leaders. The Alawis give freedom, not the sanctity, to the Sufis, which is mixed with the doubt and is neither useful to God nor to the people of God. Shiism is nothing other than Islam, not that which they tell us. Islam in addition to other things. No, Shiism means pure Islam. Islam minus the caliphate, pseudo-Arabness, and those who live in luxury. Shiism does not take of the two principles of justice and imamat, religious leadership, and add them to Islam. Islam without justice and imamat is the same as the religion of Islam minus Islam. The same is the true for Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Vedantism, Buddhism, and Taoism. It's the new ignorance which adds government, race, classes to Islam. The wars between the Shiites and Sunnis which took place in the past, not in the present where it has become a war of words, history, and tribes, are the wars for the ideas of imamat and justice against the despotism and oppression. The differences in faith and history, philosophic and religious interpretations all develop from the same front. Ali has not been added to Muhammad S.A.W. We have taken Ali in order not to lose Muhammad. The descendants of the historical Caesars, kings, pharaohs, all speak from Muhammad, yet there is a difference in what they stood for. We do not replace the traditions, the sunnat of the Prophet with the family of Ali, nor do we add to them. Very simply and straightforwardly, this is his family. We seek to know through the traditions what he said, what he did, and what he wanted, but with the help and guidance of his family. Contrary to what enemies and lovers today think, Shiism is the most traditional sect of Islam. The major difference stems principally from whether or not Ali and the real Shiites tried consciously and correctly from the beginning, in opposition to the innovation and hearsay to remain traditional and retain the traditions. We see how everything has been mixed with everything else. We see that during the black centuries, filled with blood, while the world is awestruck by the power of the government and government of an oppression in Islam and caliphates, the Islam of justice and imamate is drowned in the blood of martyrdom. Shiites accept martyrdom and thereby negate the caliph's power. The most difficult choice does not come easily. The cruel punishments enacted by the families of the Umayyads, the Abbasids, the Saladin, the Turk, and the Mongols bear witness to the fact that great theologians, the champions of liberty, the seekers of death, and the majority of the worshippers of truth and the desirers of justice and the lovers of virtue have committed themselves to this way and to freedom. The way passes through the caliphates of Damascus and Baghdad in the land of fire, blood, prison and punishment. It is attached so that small house of Ali, which is as large as all the humanity. What things do they not do? Which ones of them do they not kill? To speak about Ali and Fatima in the history of Islam has not been easy. Poets who have defended their families say, I've been carrying the rope of my execution on my back for 50 years. This is the fate of all the men and women who have written the history of Shiism, a history where each line, each word has been written with the blood of a martyr. These courageous frontrunners of Shiism are not familiar with the new philosophy which has created for us wait, be in the state of anticipation, awaiting the hidden Iman. Awaiting the hidden Iman. He will become himself and make everything right. He must come himself and restore the religion of his ancestors. The only thing is for us to use pious fraud and have patience. The author is referring to a particular way of thought used by the caliphate institutions to keep the people subdued. The idea is to wait for the end of the world and the return of the 12th Imam, marking the time when all the world will be ruled by justice. Ibn Sakit was a great man of letters. He was not among the warriors of the champions of justice, but a literary man and an expert in language. His hidden sympathies were with Shiism. The Caliph Mutawakkil Abbasi chose him to teach his children. Little by little, Mutawakkil's children began to side with Ali and his family. Perhaps he thought to himself, this is the work of their teacher. One day the Caliph visited the classroom. He sat down and began complimenting Ibn Sakit and praising him. He told him how pleased he was with the progress of his children. Then in the same tone he asked, how do you see my children? Ibn Sakit in answering praised them very highly. Then, in the same tone, he asked, how do you see my children? Ibn Sakit, in answering, praised them very highly. Then Mutawakkil suddenly asked, Ibn Sakit, in your opinion, are my children better or Hassan and Hussein, the children of Ali? Ibn Sakit had to make a choice. The use of pious fraud here would be weakness and treason. In Alawite Shiism, pious fraud is a tactic in order to preserve faith and not, as it is used today, to preserve the believer. He did not pause. In his normal voice, in the same tone in which Mutawakkil had asked, he answered, Kambal, the servant of Ali is worth more than both of you and your children. Mutawakkil ordered that the tongue of Abu Sakit be cut out. It is these tongues which come back to the scourge of the tyrants of history. If the Shiites are not conquered, they are tried. Their desires for justice and freedom never dies in their hearts, nor their need for equality and awareness and revolutionary leadership against their enemies who are attached to the institutions of oppression, wealth, and hypocrisy. They never forget. They do not let the sacred fire die out. It is not forgotten in the conscience of the people. The people and the theologians. Two groups carry this heavy responsibility on their shoulders. These two groups hold the rope of death in their hands for centuries. One is the great consciousness. One is the great conscious. Shiites who know Imamat to be a continuation of prophethood and the wisdom, the continuation of Imamat. The second group are the pure, faithful people of ours. They express widespread silence. They suffer punishment at the hands of the Arab Caliphate household and the Turkish sultans. Behind their bloodied and peaceful faces is a strength and virility which makes their executioners ashamed. In the midst of the government whiplashes, these people are like hard rocks of patience, and they say they do not send any anguish. Wisdom and love. Each religion, school of thought, movement, or revolution is made up of two elements: wisdom and love. One is light and the other is motion. One gives common sense and understanding, the other strength, enthusiasm, and motion. In the words of Alexis Carrel, wisdom is like the lights of a car which shows the way. Love is the motor which makes it move. Each is nothing without the other. A motor without light is blind love, dangerous, tragic, and infers death. In a society, a movement of thought or a revolutionary force or a revolutionary school of thought, men of letters who are clear thinkers, aware and responsible, show through their works that there is a way to come to know a school of thought or a religion. They show that there is a way to give awareness to people. The responsibility of people, to the other hand, is to give their spirits and their strength to a movement. They are responsible for giving the starting push. A movement is like a living body. It thinks with the brain of scholars and gives love through the hearts of its people. If faith, sincerity, love, and sacrifice are at a minimum in society, people are responsible, but where correct understanding of a school of thought is at minimum, where vision, awareness, logical conscious, and deep familiarity with the goals of a school of thought are lacking, where the meaning, purpose, and truths of a school of thought are missing, the scholars are responsible. Religion in particular needs both, since religion is a type of lover's consciousness or love of consciousness. In religion, knowledge and feelings are not treated as separate entities because they are transformed into understanding and faith by the means of common sense and coming to know something. This is Islam. More than any other religion, it is a religion of the recitation of a book, a religion of jihad, a religion of thought and love. In the Quran, one cannot find the boundaries between love and faith. The Quran considers martyrdom to be eternal life. It swears one of the it swears one to the pen and writing. This is particularly true in Shiism, as its history and culture has shown. Shiism is a place from which love, enthusiasm, blood, and martyrdom emanate. Shiism is a center of the inflamed, feelings boil. At the same time, it includes meditation and wisdom. It embodies cultural and intellectual sciences. It is a distinguishable movement of the revolutionary thought. It's an accident in the fate of man. It is knowledge, love, and truth in the name and nature of Ali. The worship of truth is such that truth without worship is philosophy, and the knowledge and the worship without truth is idol worship and lust. Ladies and gentlemen, dear readers, we have reached page 26 of the book. I think we will stop over here and begin with our next subtopic, Tears Should Bear Witness to Love, in our next session. Goodbye until then. Khuda Hafiz.